I want to talk to you about a really important word, and the word is faith. It's overused and it's misused a lot, so much so that it can be really hard to understand. But the Bible says in Hebrews 11:6 that it's pretty important. In fact, it says there that without faith, it's impossible to please God. That doesn't mean that you can't do anything to make Him happy. It literally means you can't go with Him. You can't move in sync with Him apart from faith. So faith really does matter. Understanding faith really does matter. So here's the good news, is that it's not as hard, it's not as confusing, and it's not as mystical as you might think. But we still get tripped up. And here are 3 things that I've learned that have helped me a great deal in terms of understanding faith and moving in faith, as well as growing in faith. So I'm going to do this quickly, because I'm trying to get this done in 3 minutes or less. And that's challenging for me, as you would know. Here's the first thing. Faith depends on understanding who God is, not understanding His plan. I need to know His nature and His heart, that He is perfectly loving, always good, completely faithful. I don't just have to look at the plan that He has for me and try to figure out if it's one I want to go on. I can trust God, not just try to understand the plan. Here's the second thing, that faith most often requires me to go before I know. So I need to take the first step that God's leading me to take. 15 years ago we had to take a step, and that was to move to Topeka, Kansas, so we could pastor and shepherd and care for and do ministry here at Covenant Baptist Church. We had to go before we knew what the rest would look like. So remember that. Faith requires you to go before you know. And the third thing is, it's always been better for me to act on the faith that I do have instead of focusing on the faith that I don't have. So that means this for me. I try to assume that God is speaking to me if I have an inkling or a nudge. And I try to move in that realm, even if I'm 10% certain that God is speaking and leading, and 90% doubt. I think God meets me in that 10%. No, I know He does. When I move in faith, even if I'm misguided as to the direction, when I'm putting confidence in Jesus, He meets me there. And I find it much easier for God to redirect me on a path that I've gone, a little off on, than to get me started on a path I've never taken a step on. So it's always better to act in faith that we have instead of not acting on the faith that we don't have. Faith's a big deal. You can't follow Jesus apart from it. Instead of focusing on you, focus on God and His nature. And instead of trying to map out the course, take the first step. And instead of just trying to figure out how do you get stronger faith, move in the faith that you do have. That's why Romans 10 tells us to focus on Jesus. Faith comes by hearing, hearing by the word of Christ. As we get to know Him, and we'll get to love Him and know that He loves us, and He's always trustworthy. Hey, God bless you. I really do love following Jesus together. Let's do that.